Are you on the page? Okay. Let's see. Go ahead. Is that me? Hello, everybody. Hello? Oh, okay. But do you hear my voice there? Yeah. Okay. Is that me? Oh, there you go. We're fine. Thank you, Jay. Lovely. Hey, Facebook. We are over here at Simoson Building. Unfortunately, there's no power, but we'll make it as best as we can. I have with me as a guest my very special guest. This is Dr. Mwene Nseluke, and you're the national coordinator for tobacco control over there at the Ministry of Health. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you. To start with, Doctor, can you please explain what constitutes novel and emerging tobacco products?
Thank you so much. What constitutes novel and emerging products is, in simple terms, is any tobacco product that is not cigarette or your own made your own form of cigarette that came to the market after 2014 in May 20, so 19th May 2014. So all the products that came after that, they are called emerging products. So it's a product that is, it's a tobacco product that is not cigarette, that is not a rolled-on form of cigarette, that came into market after 19th May 2014.
Does this include vaping?
Yes, it includes vaping.
And it includes this, what do they call it? You see when you go to the shisha.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Those are the examples. Yes.
Those are novel emerging tobacco products. Yes. How dangerous are those? Because there's this general idea that it's not as bad as regular tobacco. And lots of young people actually think that it's less harmful.
Actually, it's not any less harmful because it contains the parent ingredient that defines tobacco. For instance, tobacco is basically a leaf that has a chemical called nicotine, addictive chemical. So whether novel or ordinary cigarette, they contain that chemical. So there is just this belief to say, when you look at the novel, they have less chemicals. When you look at the ordinary tobacco, because it is not heated, it has quite a number of chemicals. So you can talk of the non-heated, like the ordinary cigarette, they have up to about 7,000 chemicals in it. And then these novel ones, they have about 2,000 to 3,000 chemicals in it. But even then, they are not any less harmful because they have the parent ingredient that makes one addictive and also destroys the lungs.
And tell us, what are the known short-term and long-term health effects of using electronic cigarettes and vaping and all of this shisha?
Yeah, so it's like, you know, the vehicles, you have a lot of versions. We have the latest 2020, we have now the 2024 version, 2023 version. They increase in terms of additions, comfort, and all those things. So when you look at the effects in terms of both the short term and the long term. So when you look at what is due to the tobacco or the nicotine itself, which is in the novel products as well, is that one will actually be more enhanced to take because they are sweetened, most of them. So as you enjoy that sweet, you tend to vape more, tend to smoke more, get more of that nicotine. And in terms of the impact, we are talking of people who have cough, people who have fever, people who have chest pain. They are more susceptible to these chest infections that are currently prevalent, particularly when it's cold like this. In terms of infections, they become very high, especially when we talk about the short term. Yeah.
So how do these products differ from traditional tobacco cigarettes products in terms of their composition and delivery mechanism?
Yeah, so in terms of the composition, they just differ in terms of the number of chemicals that are available in the ordinary cigarettes, as well as the number of chemicals that are available through the in the electronic cigarettes. So you find that in the conventional ones, we have more chemicals. In the e-cigarettes, mostly it's they are heated products, so they tend to deliver either through the lungs. People will just smoke them, and in that way, you find that the effect is almost the same, except that the newer products, they tend to have more concentration because people take them with that sweetened flavor on it.
Now, when you say, because you mentioned heated tobacco products, those are the electronic.
Yes, those are the electronics.
Right. So how do heated tobacco products impact the respiratory and cardiovascular system within our bodies?
Okay, so let me just explain it this way. I explain the impact both in the short term and in the long term. So in the short term, you find that they tend to destroy the lining of the lungs in terms of the smoke that actually impacts, because that's a foreign thing. So the lungs react and they become hypersensitive, and they tend to produce a lot of mucus. They tend to develop more chest infections more often, and in the long term, they tend to develop actually diseases that are related to cancers. And in terms of the blood circulation, the impact is so much in the sense that the heated tobacco, they deliver the nicotine so efficiently to a point that it easily gets to the bloodstream. And when it gets to the bloodstream, it hardens the blood vessels. When it hardens the blood vessels, because when you are in a flight and mode, or you are scared, the heart tends to pump very fast. And the blood vessels provide for resistance so that the pressure does not go so much on the heart. So when they become hardened, it means that when the heart pumps, in terms of them, that elasticity which has been destroyed, it doesn't get there. So they tend to reflect the impact back on the heart. So the heart will start failing, and then also the blood vessels. So these people tend to develop hypertension, AD, even if they are not predisposed, like having diabetes, hypertension in the family, they tend to develop it. If they have it, they'll develop more earlier than their age. They will develop also other conditions such as diabetes. Most of these non-communicable diseases, they will just begin to flow in place. So it's like a cascade. So you destroy your system, and eventually the heart begins to fail. When the heart fails, other components of the body, they're also affected. Yeah.
Now, are there specific demographic groups, for example, the youth and pregnant women, that are more vulnerable to the health risks associated with these products?
Yes, there is. When you look at that is lifespan, expected life expectancy, those who start to smoke early, they tend to develop more complications. Okay. So pregnant women, they tend to be affected more because as they smoke, it's the same blood that filters and also goes to the children. We have actually had children who are born with withdrawal symptoms of these nicotine products, which is more adverse. So that child begins to smoke at a tender age. By the time they're in their 30s, in their productive years, they have more non-communicable diseases like hypertension, cancers, and many others than they would ever imagine. Even then, the adolescents, most of them, the way they start to smoke is out of curiosity in school. When they watch a movie, they will look at, they will advertise and think that is nice. They'll try. Before they know it, they are addicted. They have to fend them for themselves. They have to steal. They have to do this and all those kind of things. So really, in terms of age demographics, pregnant women more susceptible than the younger ones, and then the late adults.
What are the public health implications of the rising popularity of novel tobacco products? Because we're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah,
we're seeing them in restaurants. It's almost glorified. Restaurants and shisha. There's shisha sections. You know.
Yeah, even in these malls, you just find them. They are just so that also points to also the weaknesses. Looking at
the weaknesses in our regulations.
Yes, and businessmen or businesswomen tend to explore in those areas so that they make money. Before you tighten laws, you'll have more money. But in terms of public health concern, what we see, I was just having a chat with the Director General for ZNPHI, and he actually raised alarming statistics in terms of this could actually be a public health emergency in terms of how we are supposed to respond as a country. So in terms of the impact is that right from the start, you have this young population that begins to smoke and creates a burden in the health system. When they create a burden in the health system, it means that the cost of managing tobacco-related illnesses also goes up. And the budget allocation also does not also afford. So what happens is that these people eventually develop tobacco-related illnesses, among others like the cancers. They tend to die. Most of them, they don't afford the treatment to go abroad and all these things. So it has given so much burden to Ministry of Health, Ministry of Local Government, because they have to support, they have to ensure that this young population is productive. But looking at the public health measures, I mean, talk about, one interesting thing with human beings, Samuel, is that they tend to graduate. So if they smoke, they don't get as much. They tend to abuse things like vanillin, cannabis, and these others. So they tend to graduate. It's very rare to find someone who smokes who does not drink.
Because they're looking for that next high.
Until they develop one mental health problem on the other. So in terms of the public health impact, it's so much. The current studies really underestimate. We are talking about over 7,000 people living with one form of tobacco-related illness or the other. Even if you talk about our GDP, our GDP, our location in terms of Ministry of Health, what we are supposed, it's not up to that. So we are really running behind. So the main impact is mostly on the young ones because then they just get hooked. So if we can find the way of protecting the young ones and make sure that they are strictly protected, because this is a business. They know that by 16, 17, 18, you are hooked. You graduate, you start making money. Part of your money will be going to buying cigarettes because you just have to buy because you are.
And so they have a lifelong customer.
Yes, they have a lifelong customer. So for them, they don't have to advertise much. Even if that is why, even if they say tobacco is harmful to your health, it's very clear on the pack. People, they smoke because they are addicted to it. Yeah.
How effective are the current regulations in addressing the health risks associated with these products? Because the one thing I've taken note of For example, if I go to a restaurant, and I've talked about this many times on my platform, I'll go to a restaurant and clearly there's a statutory instrument that prohibits smoking in public places. I'll bring to the attention of the waitress, why are you allowing those customers sitting across the room? Why are you allowing them to smoke? The response is always, no, Mr. Mwema, if we start telling them, maybe they will never come back, and then there'll be an argument. The regulation system is, in my view, is not effective. What do you think about the regulation system?
Yeah, you see, if you look at our constitution, it has been revised. Certain active pieces of legislation have been revised over the years more often than not than the publicly related pieces of legislation. Why do I say so? It's because, yes, you say no smoking in public. Those who smoke, they also reserve the right. Where will they smoke? We have smoke-free zones that in our buildings, in our infrastructure, and all those things. So that tends to provide for a lacuna that even when you take those people for maybe to courts, to police, they still get away with it. Okay. We say tobacco is harmful and it's clearly labeled. But you see in most of these big posters, people will be advertising. How would you allow someone to advertise a chemical that harms its own population? How? It doesn't add up. The simple reason is simple is because there is no specific regulation that looks at that and cartels in terms of tobacco advertising. And that they are exploring it. Young ones at school, they would look at it, they would watch, they would look at those, and they think it's normal, and they think it's in fashion. So public health regulation relating to tobacco, currently they're quite weak. That is why we're looking at the issues of see how best we can enact.
Last month, as you know, Zambia joined the rest of the year in commemorating World No Tobacco Day. Without the tobacco control bill,
Yes.
what would be the challenge in enacting the bill, considering the rising popularity of novel tobacco products on the Zambian market?
The challenge will always be, especially that the industry, tobacco industry, is a business, and they are generating resources on the sale, regardless who buys the chemicals they are selling. The fact that it's a business and they make money, they'll always try to work around it and make it look normal, and provide for policymakers to believe that it's contributing much more resources to the national treasury rather than the money that is being used to treat those developing ailments. So they will keep on. So that remains a challenge, especially where we are now looking at how best as a country we can amass revenue everywhere. And that provides for those kind of challenges in terms of regulation. But the good thing is that the government is using a one government approach where all ministries have to comment and contribute in terms of this tobacco control bill that is yet to be enacted. So the motivation, the political will, the good parties, the political will is there, but we have to, at technical level, we have to agree, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Commerce, Trade and Industry, Finance, we have to sit and look at this thing more pragmatically and agree to say, this is the way we will go in a way that it will not affect. The other challenge is this misconception that people have to say, if we enact the tobacco control bill, it will stop the growing of tobacco instantly.
Which isn't the case.
Which isn't the case, because that is merely the public health component that controls the consumption. If you look at Brazil, it's one of the highest tobacco growing countries, and they have the strongest tobacco control laws. But the tobacco control has not killed the industry there. They still continue to grow, but they have regulated it. Yeah. So if we remain with a weak law, it means those countries with strong laws, they will keep on flooding that tobacco into countries
With weak laws.
with laws.
Yes.
So we
Case in
remain-
point, Zambia.
yes, including Zambia, which is, I mean, I'll tell you something. It's just that I left some of my boxes. If you come with some of the boxes for tobacco, you'll find that you have this tobacco, it's written Stuyvesant, or it's written this product. You open inside, it's a mixture. So people don't look at all those things.
They just open it and start
And
smoking.
start smoking. So these are the issues of adverse effect of having a weak tobacco regulation.
This year's World Tobacco Day is focused on protecting children from the tobacco industry and its tactics.
Yeah.
How are you interpreting this theme, especially that your campaign is youth focused?
Yeah, so what we are actually doing currently is we have been doing a lot of sensitization in terms of tobacco awareness, tobacco use awareness in the country. And come 4th July, we will have the Action Nation launch, where the minister will come and grace the occasion. The aim is to, as you have said, is targeting the young population. This is the population that is easily hooked. So we want to bring awareness at national level, at family unit level, and then at individual level to say that the most vulnerable people with this tobacco use are the adolescents and the young. So we need to protect them from the tricks and the tactics of the industry, how it hooks them, because basically they just make them get addicted the youngest age, then they forget about it. How they navigate out is their own business. How they begin to buy is their own business. So this is want to bring this awareness to say that as a country, we need to have strong laws, policies regulating that will protect the younger generation, because this is the future leadership of tomorrow, which will also be sick. You know, it will provide for non-sustainable. I take a leaf from the United Kingdom. I think you may be aware that they have one of the strongest laws in terms of tobacco control. They literally want to ban it. But now these companies, now they're shifting from those developed countries.
They're coming to Africa.
Yes. So companies,
Because Africa is just an open field with very few laws and restrictions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
talk about environmental impact. To heat, to dry the tobacco, they need trees, and they cut trees like no man's business. For labor, for them to pluck, when they come, they give parents, no, this is an incentive, we're giving you a loan, giving you seed, this is the input, you plant. Who plucks out? It's the father, mother, and the children. And the children, they tend to develop what you call the green leaf disease, because the tobacco, the nicotine also absorbs in the skin, because it's highly active, both in the young ones and the adults. So in terms of the environmental impact, it's so much overwhelming. I've gone to tobacco growing areas in the country. I'll not mention names, but you will see the impact. So you find there the community, they are really willing to say, please help us. But you see, when you are poor, someone is dangling and says, here you are poor, people tend to go for those things. So we will need to develop effective policy measures that will eventually protect the young ones and the old ones as we work on the basics, so that we don't proliferate tobacco use in the country.
Dr. Mwene, Ministry of Health, National Coordinator, Tobacco Control. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.